They carried him into the storm as a corpse, in waiting. She walked out alone and dragged him back breathing. Colonel Adrian Hale, commander of the most elite SEAL unit in the Pacific Theater, vanished in a Category 4 hurricane during a classified op in the Raven Rock Highlands. Command declared him KYA. The team prepared to extract, but Lena Cross, the quiet sniper they called too small for the fight, stood up in that freezing shelter and said two words that stopped everything. He's alive. What happened next became legend. Before we begin, stay with me until the very end of this story. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this tale travels. You won't believe what she did out there. The rain sounded like nails hammering sheet metal. Inside the rock shelter carved into the western ridge of Raven Rock Highlands, 12 operators sat in near darkness, breathing synchronized with the storm's rhythm. The wind outside wasn't wind anymore. It was a living thing, clawing at stone, shrieking through cracks in the mountain's face. Lightning flashed white through the narrow entrance, and for half a second you could see their faces, hollow-eyed, mud-streaked, exhausted. Staff Sergeant Marcus Riley sat near the back, helmet off, staring at the radio in his lap like it might resurrect the dead. Static, just static. He'd been listening for 43 minutes. Colonel Adrian Hale's last transmission had cut off mid-word during a river crossing 2 clicks south. The flood had come fast. Mountain runoff turned into a surging black wall in under 90 seconds. Hale had been point. He'd gone under. The team had scrambled to higher ground, called it in, waited for a break in the weather. No break came. Now the storm was a Cat 4, and Command had sent the order an hour ago. Extract at first light. Hale is presumed K1A. Riley finally shut off the radio. "That's it," he said quietly. "He's gone." No one responded. Across the shelter, Master Chief Petty Officer Dominic Kane sat cross-legged, field stripping his sidearm by feel. His jaw worked steadily on a piece of gum that had lost its flavor 6 hours ago. He didn't look up. "Gone means gone," Kane muttered. "We move at 0600, no exceptions." A few heads nodded. Most didn't move at all. Near the entrance, Petty Officer First Class Jorge Salazar pressed his back against cold stone and closed his eyes. He'd been with Hale for 3 tours. Mosul, Kandahar, Mogadishu. The old man had a sixth sense for survival, could smell an ambush from 100 meters, could read terrain like scripture. If the river took him, it wasn't because he made a mistake. It was because nature didn't negotiate. Salazar exhaled slowly, fogging the air in front of his face. "Should have tied off," someone murmured from the dark. "Should have waited for the rope." "Shut up," Kane said without heat. "Second-guessing gets you killed slower." Silence swallowed the shelter again, and then, "He might still be alive." The voice was quiet, calm, almost conversational. Every head turned. Lena Cross sat in the farthest corner, back to the wall, rifle across her lap. She hadn't moved in over an hour. Her hands were busy, cleaning the bolt-carrier group of her MK-11 with a rag that was more mud than cloth, but her face was unreadable. Pale skin, dark eyes, a thin scar running from her left temple to her jawline, barely visible in the dim light. She was 26, 5'4", 120 pounds soaking wet. She was also the best precision shooter in the unit, and everyone knew it. Kane stared at her. "Say that again." Lena didn't look up. She reassembled the bolt, tested the action, nodded to herself. "I said he might still be alive." Riley leaned forward, frowning. "Cross, we lost comms. The river pushed him south-southeast," Lena interrupted. Her voice was steady, factual. "Current was running 8 to 10 knots. He's trained. He knows how to ride a flood. If he stayed conscious, he'd let it carry him until the gradient dropped, then kick toward the eastern bank where the terrain breaks." She finally looked up. "That puts him somewhere between grid square Tango 7 and Tango 9. Sheltered. Probably hypothermic, but alive." The shelter went dead silent. Kane's gum stopped moving. "You're guessing," he said flatly. "I'm calculating," Lena replied. She pulled a damp map from her pack, unfolded it across her knees, and traced a line with one finger. Hale weighs 220, full gear. Even unconscious, he has got enough mass to stay mostly submerged. The river bends here. She tapped the map. Which means the current slows. He'd beach somewhere in this zone. It's not a guess. It's physics. Salazar shifted, studying her. You think he made it to cover? If he's conscious, yes. If he's hurt, maybe. If he's dead, Lena folded the map. Then it doesn't matter what I think. Kane shook his head slowly. Even if you're right, we can't move in this. Visibility's down to 15 meters. The storm's getting worse, not better. Command says we extract at dawn. Command also said Hale was dead an hour ago, Lena said. They're working off the same assumptions you are. And what assumptions are those? Lena met his gaze without blinking. That no one survives what he just went through. The words hung in the wet air. Riley cleared his throat. Cross, listen, I get it. You want to believe. We all do. But hope doesn't change the weather. We go out there now. We die. End of story. Not if you know how to read it. Read what? The storm. Lena stood, slinging her rifle. She moved to the entrance and stared out into the howling dark. Rain slashed sideways. Wind screamed. Lightning split the sky, illuminating jagged cliffs and twisted trees bent double. She didn't flinch. Storms have rhythm, she said quietly. They breathe. If you listen, really listen, you can hear the lulls, the pauses. That's when you move. Kane pushed to his feet. You grew up in Kansas, Cross. Tornadoes and wheat fields. This is a hurricane. My father was a smoke jumper, Lena said. He taught me how to walk through wildfire when I was 12. My mother was Coast Guard SAR. She taught me how to navigate whitewater in zero vis. I've been in worse than this. Bullshit. Lena turned, and for the first time there was something sharp in her eyes. You don't have to believe me, Chief. But I'm going anyway. The shelter erupted. Absolutely not. That's a suicide run. Cross, sit your ass down. Lena raised her voice just enough to cut through the noise. I'm not asking for permission. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Kane stepped forward, his face dark. You walk out that door without clearance, you're done. Court-martialed, dishonorably discharged. You understand me? I understand, Lena said. But Hale's still out there, and I'm not leaving him. Riley stood, holding up both hands. Okay, everyone calm down. He looked at Lena, then at Kane, then back at Lena. Let's say, hypothetically, you're right. Let's say Hale made it to cover. You still can't go alone, not in this. I'm the only one small enough to move fast, Lena said. And I'm the only one who won't second-guess the terrain. You send a full team. You're slow. You're loud. You're visible. I can slip through. Salazar laughed, short, bitter. Slip through. Cross, this isn't a training exercise. You get caught in a wind shear, you're gone. You step wrong in the dark, you're off a cliff. You run into hostiles. There are no hostiles, Lena said. This is a natural disaster scenario. We're alone out here. You don't know that. Neither do you. The argument spiraled. Voices overlapped. Someone kicked a pack. Someone else swore in Spanish. And then, enough. Master Chief Kane's voice was iron. Everyone stopped. He walked to the center of the shelter, arms crossed, jaw tight. He looked at Lena for a long time. You really think he's alive? It wasn't a question. Lena nodded once. Kane exhaled through his nose. If I let you go, and that's a big if, you get 1 hour, 60 minutes. You don't find him, you don't find evidence, you turn around and haul ass back here. No heroics, no extended searches. 1 hour. Understood. You take a radio, you check in every 15 minutes. You miss a check-in, we assume you're down, and we're not coming after you. Understood. And if you get yourself killed out there, I'm writing the letter to your family. You good with that? Lena's expression didn't change. I'm good with that. Kane stared at her for 5 more seconds. Then he turned to Riley. Get her prepped. Light load, radio, med kit, sidearm, 60 rounds, no ruck. Riley blinked. Chief, you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Riley muttered something under his breath and started pulling gear. Salazar stood. Chief, this is insane. I know, Kane said, but if there's even a 1% chance Hale's breathing, I'm not the one who's going to tell his wife we didn't try. He looked back at Lena. You've got 1 hour, Cross. Don't waste it. Lena checked her gear one last time. Radio, functional. Sidearm, loaded, one in the chamber. MK-11, stripped down. No optics, just iron sights. In this visibility, a scope was useless. Medkit, compact trauma package. Tourniquet, chest seals, pressure bandages, morphine, no food, no extra water, no sleeping bag. She didn't plan on being out that long. Riley handed her a chem light. Crack this if you need extract. We'll see it from here. I won't need it, Lena said. Take it anyway. She clipped it to her vest. Kane stepped up, his face unreadable. You miss one check-in, I'm calling it. You hear me? I hear you. And Cross, yeah? Don't be a hero. Hale wouldn't want that. Lena almost smiled. Hale's the reason I'm here, Chief. If I don't bring him back, what's the point of any of this? She didn't wait for a response. She walked to the entrance, pulled her hood tight, and stepped into the storm. The wind hit her like a freight train. She staggered, caught herself against the rock, and pushed forward. Rain lashed her face, cold and sharp as glass. The world was black and gray and white, no horizon, no landmarks, just chaos. She closed her eyes, listened. The wind howled high and thin, upper atmosphere turbulence. Beneath it, a deeper roar, the river, swollen and angry, somewhere to her left. And beneath that, a rhythmic pulse, the storm's heartbeat. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. She counted to 3. The wind dropped. Just for a moment, maybe 5 seconds, the pressure eased, the rain thinned, the visibility stretched to 20 meters. Lena moved. She ran low and fast, angling southeast, boots squelching in mud. She reached a cluster of boulders and pressed flat against stone, breathing hard. The wind surged again, screaming past her, and she waited. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. The lull came. She moved again. It took her 15 minutes to cover half a click. Normally, she could run that distance in under 3, but this wasn't normal. Every step was a negotiation. Every breath was a calculated risk. She keyed her radio. Cross to base. First checkpoint. Grid Tango 7 Alpha. Proceeding southeast. Kane's voice crackled back, barely audible through the static. Copy. 14 minutes. Stay sharp. Lena didn't respond. She scanned the terrain ahead, jagged rocks, twisted trees, and then, there. A strip of torn fabric snagged on a thorn bush. She moved closer, crouched, pulled it free. Olive drab. Reinforced nylon. Standard issue combat jacket. Her heart kicked. She keyed the radio. Cross to base. I've got fabric. Matches Hale's kit. Approximately 400 meters south of last known position. Kane's voice sharpened. You sure? Positive. A pause. Keep moving. Clock's ticking. Lena stood, scanned the ground. The mud was churned, chaotic. But there, just past the bush, a faint depression. Boot print. Deep, fresh. He'd been here. And he'd been moving under his own power. She felt something loosen in her chest. Not relief. Not yet. But possibility. She pushed forward. The terrain dropped sharply. She half slid, half climbed down a scree slope, grabbing roots and rocks to slow her descent. The river roared louder now, close enough to taste the spray. Lightning flashed, and she saw it. A narrow canyon, sheer walls on both sides. The river churning through the middle like a black serpent. And on the far side, movement. Lena froze. She dropped to one knee, brought up her rifle, and stared through the rain. For a moment, she thought she'd imagined it. The storm played tricks. Shadows became shapes. Shapes became ghosts. But then, another flash of lightning, and she saw them. 3 figures, moving tactically, coordinated, armed. They were carrying something between them. A stretcher. Lena's blood went cold. She keyed the radio, her voice barely a whisper. Cross to base. I have eyes on unknown contacts. 4 armed individuals, southeast of my position. They're carrying someone. Static. Then Kane's voice, tight and urgent. Repeat. You said armed. Confirmed. Rifles, moving tactically. They've got someone on a stretcher. Cross, pull back. Observe only. Do not engage. Do you copy? Lena didn't answer. She was staring through the rain at the stretcher, at the man strapped to it. Even through the storm, even at this distance, she recognized the build, the posture. It was Hale, alive, barely conscious, and being taken. Her finger hovered over the radio transmit button. Kane's voice crackled again, harder now. "Cross, do you copy? Pull back and observe. That's an order." Lena's jaw tightened. She watched the figures disappear into the canyon, swallowed by rain and darkness. She had two choices. Obey the order, report the contact, wait for backup that wouldn't arrive in time. Or, she clicked off the radio, checked her magazine, and stepped into the storm. The canyon was a wound in the earth. Lena moved along the eastern ridge, staying low, using the rain as cover. The enemy, whoever they were, had a 30-second lead, maybe less. They were moving fast, but not recklessly. Professionals. That meant training, organization, a plan. This wasn't random. She slid down a mud-slick embankment and landed in shallow water. The river was close, too close. One wrong step and the current would take her. She didn't think about it. She pushed forward, scanning left and right, rifle up. The wind lulled. She heard voices, ahead, low, clipped syllables. Not English. Russian? Mandarin? She couldn't tell through the rain, but it didn't matter. They had hail. That was all she needed to know. Lena crept forward, boots silent in the mud. She reached a cluster of boulders and peered around the edge. There, 30 meters ahead. The four figures had stopped in a natural alcove, 3 men standing guard, one kneeling beside the stretcher. The kneeling man was checking Hale's pulse, adjusting something on his chest. Medical pack, maybe. Or a tracker. Lena's mind raced. They weren't killing him. They were stabilizing him, which meant they wanted him alive. Extraction, interrogation, ransom? It didn't matter. She couldn't let them move him farther. Lena counted her options. 4 targets. 3 armed sentries, 1 medic. The sentries were spaced in a loose triangle. Good fields of fire, overlapping coverage, professional setup. If she engaged, she'd get 1 shot before they scattered. Maybe 2 if she was fast. After that, it was chaos. Kane's voice echoed in her head. Observe only. Do not engage. She looked at Hale. His head lolled to one side, blood on his temple, his breathing shallow. Lena made her choice. She sighted the first guard. Breathed out. Squeezed. The MK-11 cracked once, a flat, hard sound swallowed instantly by thunder. The guard dropped. The others spun, rifles up, scanning the dark. Lena was already moving. She sprinted left, low and fast, circling wide. The second guard shouted something, an order, maybe a warning, and fired blind into the rain. Bullets hissed past, shattering stone. Lena dropped prone behind a fallen tree, sighted, fired. The second guard went down. 2 left. The medic scrambled for cover, abandoning the stretcher. The third guard, bigger, heavier, moved toward Lena's last position, weapon raised. Lena stayed flat, waited. He stepped into the open. She fired. He fell. Silence. Lena scanned the alcove. The medic was gone, vanished into the rocks. She could hunt him, but that would take time she didn't have. She ran to the stretcher. Hale's eyes fluttered open. He looked at her, confused, dazed. "Cross?" His voice was a rasp. "I've got you, sir," Lena said. She cut the straps, checked his vitals. Pulse weak but steady, pupils responsive. Blood loss, moderate. Possible hypothermia. Fractured ribs, maybe. He'd live, if she got him out. She keyed the radio. "Cross to base. Hale is secure. Repeat, Hale is secure. Threat neutralized. Requesting immediate extract." An explosion ripped through the canyon. Lena hit the ground, ears ringing. Smoke and fire bloomed 50 meters to her left. A second explosion followed, closer. Then a third. Grenades. They weren't done. Lena grabbed Hale under the arms and dragged him into cover. He groaned, tried to speak, but she pressed a hand over his mouth. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "We're not out yet." Gunfire erupted. Automatic, disciplined bursts. The missing medic had called reinforcements, and they were close. Lena's radio crackled. Kane's voice, furious. Cross, what the hell is happening out there? Contact, Lena snapped. Multiple hostiles. Grid Tango 8. We're pinned. Another explosion, closer. The radio cut to static. Lena looked at Hale. His eyes were clearer now, focused. How many? He asked. Too many. Ammo? 30 rounds, maybe less. Hale smiled, thin, pained. Then make them count. Lena checked her magazine. 27 rounds left. She pulled Hale deeper into the rocks, found a defensible position, a narrow gap between two boulders, good cover, limited approach angles. She planted herself at the entrance and waited. The storm screamed, the enemy came, and Lena Cross, quiet, small, underestimated, held the line. The first attacker came through the gap at a dead sprint, rifle raised, and Lena put 2 rounds through his chest before he could fire. He collapsed in a heap, blocking the entrance. The second attacker vaulted over the body, faster, smarter, but Lena was already moving. She sidestepped, let him stumble past, and shot him in the back of the head at point-blank range. 23 rounds left. Behind her, Hale was propped against the rock wall, breathing hard. His face was pale, slick with rain and sweat. He'd managed to pull his sidearm, a SIG P226, but his hands were shaking too badly to aim. Save your strength, Lena said without looking back. I've got this. Like hell you do, Hale rasped. There's at least 6 more out there. Then I'll make it quick. A third attacker appeared at the gap, crouched low, firing suppressive bursts. Bullets sparked off stone inches from Lena's head. She dropped flat, rolled left, and returned fire. 3 shots, center mass. The attacker jerked backward and fell silent. 20 rounds. The gunfire stopped. For a moment, the only sound was rain hammering the rocks and Hale's labored breathing. Lena scanned the darkness beyond the gap. No movement, no voices, just the storm, too quiet. They're regrouping, Hale said. Lena nodded. Or flanking. Can't flank this position, the rocks are too tight. Then they'll try to flush us out. As if on cue, something metallic clattered against stone near the entrance. Lena's eyes went wide. Grenade! She grabbed Hale by the collar and hauled him deeper into the alcove, throwing herself over him as the explosion tore through the gap. The shockwave slammed into them like a wall of heat and pressure. Debris rained down. Lena's ears rang. Her vision swam. She forced herself up, coughing, blinking through smoke and dust. The entrance was partially collapsed now, rocks and rubble blocking half the opening, good and bad. Harder for them to get in, also harder to get out. Hale groaned beneath her. You okay? Fine, Lena lied. Her ribs screamed, her shoulder felt dislocated. She ignored both and pulled him upright. Can you move? Define move. Can you walk? Maybe. For about 10 feet? That'll have to do. She helped him to his feet and he immediately sagged against the wall, legs trembling. His left leg was worse than she'd thought. Deep gash above the knee, still bleeding through the makeshift bandage. She'd wrapped it earlier with strips from her undershirt, but it wasn't holding. I'm slowing you down, Hale said quietly. Shut up. Cross, listen to me. I said shut up. She checked her rifle. 19 rounds. She redistributed the weight on her vest, loosened the sling. We're both getting out of here. That's not up for debate. Hale stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. Short, pained, but genuine. You know, when I brought you onto the team, people said you were too small, too quiet. Said you wouldn't last a month. I remember. I told them they were idiots. You were right. Yeah. He coughed, winced. I was. Another voice cut through the rain, foreign, authoritative, shouting orders. Lena couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear. The enemy was reorganizing, preparing for another push. She moved to the gap, peered through the smoke. Shapes flickered in the darkness, 4, maybe 5 figures, spreading out along the canyon floor. They were coordinating, setting up crossfire. Lena's mind raced. She couldn't hold this position forever. Ammunition was running low. Hale needed medical attention. And reinforcements, if Kane even sent them, were at least 30 minutes out. She keyed her radio. Static. She tried again. Nothing. The explosion must have damaged it. They were alone. Cross. Hale's voice was steady now, clearer. He'd found his commander's tone again. "What's the play?" Lena didn't answer immediately. She was thinking, calculating. The canyon was a natural funnel, narrow, steep-walled, limited exits. The enemy had numbers and firepower. She had terrain knowledge and desperation. Not a fair fight, but fair didn't matter. "We go dark," she said finally. Hale frowned. "What?" "They're using night vision. Has to be. Otherwise they'd be as blind as we are." She pulled a small pouch from her vest, 3 M84 flashbangs, standard issue. "We overload their optics, slip past while they're disoriented, and make for the northern ridge." "That's a terrible plan. You have a better one?" Hale considered, then he shook his head. "No. No, I don't." "Then we go dark." She pulled the pin on the first flashbang and threw it high over the rubble. It detonated midair, a blinding white flash followed by a deafening crack that echoed through the canyon like the voice of God. Screams erupted from the enemy positions. Lena didn't wait. She threw the second flashbang, then the third, spacing them 5 seconds apart. The world turned white. She grabbed Hale and pulled him through the gap, half dragging, half carrying him over the rubble. He stumbled, nearly fell, but she kept him upright. They hit the canyon floor running, or at least Lena was running. Hale was lurching, every step a small agony, but he kept moving. Behind them, gunfire erupted, wild, undisciplined, spraying in every direction. The flashbangs had worked. The enemy was blind and panicking. Lena angled left, cutting across open ground toward a cluster of boulders. Bullets whined past. One clipped her pack, tearing fabric. Another sparked off the rock beside her head. She didn't slow. They reached cover and collapsed behind the boulders. Hale was gasping now, his face gray. Blood soaked through his pant leg, pooling in the mud. "I need to stop the bleeding," Lena said. "No time." "You're hemorrhaging." "I know." Hale grabbed her wrist, his grip weak but insistent. "But if we stop now, we're dead. Keep moving." Lena stared at him. Then she pulled a tourniquet from her med kit and cinched it tight around his thigh. Hale bit back a scream, his whole body going rigid. "That'll buy you 20 minutes, Lena said. "After that, you'll lose the leg." "Then we better move fast." She helped him up again, and they pushed forward into the rain. The northern ridge was close now, maybe 200 meters, but the terrain was brutal. Loose scree, slick mud, jagged rocks that tore at boots and hands. Every step was a fight. Behind them, the shouting grew louder. The enemy had recovered. They were coming. Lena risked a glance back and saw them. 6 figures, moving fast, flashlights cutting through the rain. They weren't disoriented anymore. They were hunting. She pushed Hale faster. "Come on, sir. Stay with me." "I'm here," Hale muttered. "I'm here." They reached the base of the ridge and started to climb. The slope was steep, 45 degrees, maybe more, and the rocks were slippery. Lena went first, finding handholds, testing each grip before committing her weight. Hale followed, slower, his breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Halfway up, his foot slipped. He fell backward, arms flailing, and Lena lunged, catching his wrist. The sudden weight nearly pulled her off the cliff. Her shoulder screamed, her fingers burned, but she held on. "I've got you," she hissed through gritted teeth. "Climb!" Hale found a foothold and pushed, and together they hauled him back onto the slope. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. They kept climbing. Below, flashlights bobbed closer. Voices called out in that foreign language, organized, methodical. They knew where Lena and Hale were going. They were cutting off the escape routes. Lena's legs burned. Her lungs screamed, but she didn't stop. They crested the ridge and stumbled onto flat ground. Lena spun, rifle up, scanning for targets. The enemy was still climbing, 30 seconds behind, maybe less. She fired 3 shots down the slope. One of the flashlights went dark. The others scattered, taking cover. It wouldn't hold them long, but it didn't have to. She pulled Hale into the tree line and kept moving. The forest was thick and dark, the canopy offering some shelter from the rain. Lena moved by feel, weaving between trees, ducking under branches. Hale was flagging now, his steps uneven, his breathing ragged. The tourniquet was holding, but barely. "How much farther?" he asked. "I don't know." "Cross." "I don't know," Lena repeated. She stopped, checked her compass. northeast. That would take them back toward the shelter, back toward the team. 2 clicks, maybe 3. I won't make it. Yes, you will. Cross, I didn't drag you out of that canyon just to lose you in the woods, Colonel. You're going to shut up, put one foot in front of the other, and stay alive. That's an order. Hale stared at her. Then, incredibly, he smiled. That's insubordination, petty officer. Court-martial me later. They kept moving. Minutes blurred together. The rain never stopped. The forest never ended. Lena's body moved on autopilot. Step, scan, step, scan. Her mind was somewhere else, running calculations, distance, time, ammunition, 12 rounds left, enough for one more firefight. Maybe. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder, branches snapping, boots crunching through underbrush. The enemy was gaining. Lena stopped at the edge of a small clearing and pulled Hale down behind a fallen log. She checked her magazine, counted her options. 12 rounds, 6 pursuers. 2 shots per target if she was perfect. She'd never been perfect. Listen to me, Hale said quietly. His face was ghostly pale now, his lips tinged blue. You need to leave me. Lena didn't look at him. No. I'm dead weight. You know it. I know it. You can move faster without me. You can get back to the team, call in an airstrike, wipe these bastards out. No. That's an order, Cross. I don't take orders from dying men. Hale laughed, bitter, sharp. Then what do you take orders from? Lena finally looked at him. Her eyes were hard, unblinking. From the part of me that doesn't leave people behind. Before Hale could respond, the first attacker emerged from the tree line. Lena fired twice. He went down. The others scattered, taking cover behind trees and rocks. 11 rounds, 10, 9. The firefight was brutal and close. Lena moved constantly, never staying in one position for more than 5 seconds. She fired, relocated, fired again. The enemy returned fire, but they were cautious now. They'd seen what she could do. They respected the threat. Good. Fear made people slow. Lena dropped another attacker, then another. The numbers were evening out. 6 rounds left, 3 enemies remaining. But her rifle jammed. Lena swore, dropped the MK-11, and pulled her sidearm, a Glock 19. 15 rounds. Close quarters weapon. She'd have to let them get close. The nearest attacker rushed her position, firing on full auto. Lena stayed low, waited until he was 10 feet away, then rose and put 3 rounds in his chest. He collapsed at her feet. 2 enemies left. The second came from the side, fast and smart. Lena spun, fired, missed. He tackled her and they went down hard. Her sidearm flew from her hand. He was on top of her, hands around her throat, squeezing. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. She drove her knee into his groin. He grunted but didn't let go. She clawed at his face, found his eyes, dug in with her thumbs. He screamed and released her. Lena rolled away, gasping, and grabbed her sidearm. The attacker lunged again. She fired once, twice. He dropped. 1 enemy left. Lena stood, chest heaving, and scanned the clearing. Where was the last one? She couldn't see him, couldn't hear him. Then Hale shouted, "Behind you!" Lena spun, too slow. The final attacker was already there, rifle raised, finger on the trigger. Time slowed. Lena saw the muzzle flash, felt the impact, hot and sharp, in her side. She stumbled, fell to one knee. The attacker advanced, weapon trained on her head, and then Hale fired. The shot was shaky, off-center, but it connected. The attacker jerked sideways and hit the ground, gasping. Silence fell. Lena pressed a hand to her side. Blood seeped between her fingers. Not arterial, not fatal, but bad. Hale crawled over, his face tight with pain. How bad? I'll live. That's not an answer. Lena gritted her teeth and stood. The world tilted. She caught herself against a tree and waited for the dizziness to pass. We need to move, she said. You're shot. So are you. Doesn't change the math. She pulled Hale to his feet. Come on. One more click. They stumbled through the forest together. 2 broken bodies held together by sheer refusal to quit. The rain eased. The storm's fury was fading, spent. Dawn was maybe an hour away. Lena keyed her radio one more time, still static. She threw it into the mud. "Forget the radio," Hale said. "Just get us home." Lena nodded. She didn't trust herself to speak anymore. Every breath hurt. Every step was a negotiation with gravity. But she kept moving, because that's what she did. And then, through the trees, she saw light. Not dawn. Something else. Flashlights. Many of them. Moving toward them. Lena raised her sidearm, but her hands were shaking too badly to aim. She squinted into the darkness, trying to identify the figures. And then a voice called out. American. Rough. Familiar. "Cross! Hale!" It was Riley. Lena nearly collapsed with relief. "Here! We're here!" The team emerged from the forest, 8 operators, fully armed, moving fast. Riley was in front, Kane right behind him. They stopped when they saw Lena and Hale, their faces going pale. "Jesus Christ," Riley breathed. Kane stepped forward, eyes scanning them both. "How bad?" "Hale needs a medevac," Lena said. Her voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Tourniquet's been on for 30 minutes. He's hypothermic. Fractured ribs. Maybe internal bleeding." "And you?" "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." "I said I'm fine." Kane stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to the team. "Salazar, get a stretcher. Riley, call in the bird. Move." The team scattered, efficient and fast. Within seconds, Hale was on a stretcher, wrapped in thermal blankets, an IV line already going into his arm. Lena watched them work, swaying slightly on her feet. Riley appeared at her side. "Come on, Cross, let's get you sat down." "I don't need to sit." "You're about to pass out." "I'm not." Her legs buckled. Riley caught her before she hit the ground. "Yeah, that's what I thought." He lowered her gently onto a rock, and someone pressed a trauma pad against her side. Lena hissed through her teeth but didn't pull away. Kane crouched in front of her, his expression unreadable. "You disobeyed a direct order." Lena met his gaze. "Yes, Chief." "You engaged an unknown enemy force alone." "Yes, Chief." "You endangered yourself and the Colonel." "Yes, Chief." Kane was quiet for a moment. Then he shook his head slowly. "And you brought him home alive." Lena didn't respond. Kane stood and looked toward the stretcher where Hale was being prepped for transport. "He's going to make it because of you." "He's going to make it because he's stubborn," Lena said quietly. "No." Kane's voice was firm. "He's going to make it because you didn't give up on him." In the distance, the sound of rotors echoed through the valley. The medevac was inbound. Lena closed her eyes and let herself breathe. They'd made it. Against every odd, against every assumption, they'd made it. Hale was loaded onto the helicopter first, and as the medic secured him, he turned his head and looked at Lena. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. The look in his eyes said everything. "Thank you." Lena nodded once. Then the helicopter lifted off, and he was gone. Riley helped Lena to her feet. "Your turn. Let's get you patched up." "I can walk." "I know you can, but you're not going to." He guided her toward the second medevac bird, and Lena didn't argue. Her body was shutting down now, adrenaline fading, pain flooding in to take its place. She let them strap her in, let them start another IV, let herself sink into the seat. As the helicopter climbed into the gray dawn sky, Lena looked out the window at the storm-ravaged highlands below. Somewhere down there, the enemy's bodies lay scattered in the mud. Somewhere down there, the river still raged. But Hale was alive. And that was all that mattered. Kane's voice crackled over the headset. "Cross, you still with us?" Lena keyed the mic. "Yeah, I'm here." "Good. Because when we land, you and I are going to have a very long conversation about the chain of command." "Looking forward to it, Chief." Kane almost laughed. "I bet you are." The helicopter banked east toward base, and Lena closed her eyes. She was so tired, bone-deep, soul-crushing tired. But beneath the exhaustion was something else, something warm and quiet. Pride, maybe? Or just relief. She'd proven something tonight. Not to Kane, not to the team, not even to herself, really. She'd proven that when the moment came, when the choice was between obedience and action, she knew which one mattered more. and she'd do it again. The helicopter descended toward the landing pad, and Lena felt the wheels touch down. Medics swarmed the bird, pulling her out on a gurney. She tried to protest, but someone had already sedated her. The world blurred. Voices faded. And then, darkness. When Lena woke, she was in a hospital bed. White walls. Antiseptic smell. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Her side was bandaged, her arm hooked to an IV. Pain throbbed dully beneath the morphine haze. She tried to sit up. A hand pressed her shoulder, gentle but firm. "Easy, you're safe." Lena turned her head. A nurse stood beside the bed, young, tired, kind-eyed. "Colonel Hale?" Lena croaked. "In surgery, stable. They're repairing his leg now." Relief washed over her. "And the team?" "All accounted for. You're the last one to wake up." Lena closed her eyes. "How long was I out?" 14 hours. 14? Lena blinked. "Jesus." The nurse smiled. "Your body needed it. You lost a lot of blood. You're lucky the bullet missed everything important." "Doesn't feel lucky." "Give it time." The nurse adjusted the IV drip, checked Lena's vitals, and turned to leave. But before she reached the door, she paused and looked back. "For what it's worth," the nurse said quietly, "everyone's talking about what you did out there. They're calling you a hero." Lena frowned. "I'm not a hero. I just did my job." "That's what heroes always say." The nurse left. Lena stared at the ceiling, processing. A hero. The word felt foreign, uncomfortable. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt like someone who'd barely survived. But maybe that's what heroism was. Not the absence of fear, not invincibility, just the refusal to quit when quitting made sense. The door opened again, and this time it was Kane. He stepped inside, holding a folder under one arm. His face was unreadable. "Chief?" Lena said. "Cross?" He pulled up a chair and sat. "How you feeling?" "Like I got shot." "That's because you did." He opened the folder and pulled out several pages. "I've been writing my report. Thought you'd want to know what it says." Lena's stomach tightened. "Am I being court-martialed?" "That depends." "On what?" Kane leaned back, crossing his arms. "On whether you understand why what you did was reckless, dangerous, and completely against protocol." Lena met his gaze. "I understand, Chief." "Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you think rules don't apply to you." "That's not—" "Let me finish." Kane's voice was hard. "You disobeyed a direct order. You engaged an enemy force without backup. You put yourself and Colonel Hale at extreme risk. Any one of those things could end your career." Lena said nothing. Kane stared at her for a long moment. Then his expression softened, just slightly. "But you also saved his life, and that counts for something." Lena exhaled slowly. "So here's what's going to happen," Kane continued. "I'm recommending you for a commendation. Silver Star, probably. You'll also receive a formal reprimand for insubordination. It'll go in your file. It'll follow you, but it won't end your career." "Thank you, Chief." "Don't thank me yet." "Because there's one more thing." Kane leaned forward. "When Hale gets out of surgery, he's going to ask for you. And when he does, you're going to tell him exactly what happened out there. No sugarcoating, no excuses. You're going to own what you did, the good and the bad. Understood?" "Understood." Kane stood, tucking the folder back under his arm. "Get some rest, Cross. You've earned it." He turned to leave, but Lena called after him. "Chief?" He paused. "Do you think I made the right call, out there, in the storm?" Kane was quiet for a long time. Then he looked back at her, and something like respect flickered in his eyes. "I think," he said slowly, "that you made the only call you could live with. And sometimes, that's all that matters." He left. Lena lay back against the pillows, her mind spinning. A commendation. A reprimand. Recognition and consequence, all tangled together. It felt right, somehow. She closed her eyes and let herself drift. Hours passed, maybe days. Time blurred in the hospital haze. Nurses came and went. Doctors checked her stitches. The morphine kept the pain at bay. And then one morning, or maybe it was afternoon, the door opened and Hale walked in. He was on crutches, his left leg heavily bandaged, but he was upright, alive. His face had color again. His eyes were clear. Lena sat up quickly. "Sir, at ease, Cross." Hale hobbled over and lowered himself into the chair beside her bed. "How's the side?" "Healing. How's the leg?" "Still attached, barely." He smiled. "They said another 10 minutes and I'd have lost it. Tourniquet saved my life." "You're welcome." Hale laughed, rough but genuine. "Yeah, I suppose I owe you for that." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Hale's expression grew serious. "Kane told me what you did," he said quietly. "How you disobeyed orders. How you went after me alone." Lena nodded. "Yes, sir." "Why?" "Because you would have done the same for me." Hale considered that. Then he shook his head. "Maybe, but I'm not sure I would have succeeded." "You would have." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." Hale stared at her, and for the first time, Lena saw something she'd never seen before in his eyes: vulnerability. "Thank you," he said simply. Lena nodded. Hale cleared his throat, the moment passing. "Anyway, I wanted you to hear this from me before it becomes official. You're being promoted. Second-class petty officer, effective immediately." Lena blinked. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep doing what you do best, which is saving stubborn old men from their own bad decisions." Despite herself, Lena smiled. Hale stood, wincing as he shifted weight onto his crutches. "Get some rest, Cross. When you're cleared for duty, we've got work to do." "What kind of work?" Hale's smile was thin and sharp. "The kind that involves finding out who those bastards were and making sure they don't try it again." He left. And Lena sat alone in the quiet hospital room, feeling the weight of everything settle onto her shoulders. Promotion, commendation, reprimand, recognition. She'd walked into that storm as the smallest, quietest member of the team. She'd walked out as something else entirely. Outside the window, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days, casting long golden light across the base. Lena watched it for a while, feeling something shift inside her chest. Not pride, not quite, just certainty. She'd proven she belonged, not because of her size, not because of her rank, but because when it mattered most, she'd made the hard call and seen it through. And that, she realized, was enough. The door opened one more time, and Riley poked his head in. "Hey, you decent?" "Define decent." He grinned and stepped inside, carrying a tray of food. "Brought you something that isn't hospital slop. Figured you earned it." Lena looked at the tray, real food, still warm, and felt her stomach growl. "You're a saint, Riley." "Yeah, well, don't spread it around." He set the tray on the bedside table and pulled up a chair. "So, word is you're getting a silver star." "Word travels fast." "Always does." Riley leaned back, studying her. "You know what this means, right?" "What?" "You're officially a badass. Can't argue your way out of it now." Lena almost laughed. "I'll try to live with the burden." "You do that." Riley stood, stretched. "Anyway, team's throwing you a welcome back thing when you're cleared. Nothing fancy, just beer and bad decisions." "You in?" "I'm in." "Good." He headed for the door, then paused. "Hey, Cross?" "Yeah?" "What you did out there, that took guts. Real guts. Just wanted you to know that." Before Lena could respond, he was gone. She sat alone again, staring at the food, feeling the quiet warmth of acceptance settle around her like a blanket. For the first time in her career, she wasn't the outsider. She wasn't the one being underestimated. She was just Lena Cross. And that was exactly who she needed to be. Somewhere in the hospital, an alarm went off, sharp, urgent, insistent, and Lena's head snapped up, pulse spiking, every instinct screaming danger before she registered it was just a fire drill, just routine, just nothing, and she forced herself to breathe, to calm, to remember she was safe, she was home, she was... The door burst open. Kane stood there, face pale, eyes wide. "Cross, get up, now." Lena's blood went cold. "What happened?" "It's Hale. Someone just tried to kill him." Lena was out of bed before Kane finished speaking. Pain screamed through her side, fresh stitches pulling, wound reopening, but she didn't care. She ripped the IV from her arm, blood spattering the floor. "Where is he?" "ICU, third floor. Security's locked it down, but—" Lena was already moving. She pushed past Kane into the hallway, bare feet slapping linoleum. Her hospital gown flapped open in the back. She didn't stop to close it. "Cross, wait. You need clothes. I need to get to Hale." Kane caught up, grabbing her shoulder. She spun, and he saw something in her eyes that made him step back. Not anger, something colder, more final. "Someone tried to kill him in a secure military hospital," Lena said quietly. "That means the threat's internal. That means we don't know who to trust. So I'm going to his room, and I'm going to make sure no one gets close enough to try again. Are you going to help me or get in my way?" Kane stared at her for 2 seconds. Then he pulled off his jacket and threw it at her. "Put that on. You look like hell." Lena caught it, shrugged into it. Too big, but it covered enough. "What happened? Details." They moved fast down the corridor, Kane talking as they went. Hale was in recovery, post-op sedated. Nurse came in to check vitals, found his IV bag had been tampered with. Someone injected something into the line. Potassium chloride, looks like. Enough to stop his heart. When? 12 minutes ago. Is he alive? Yes. Nurse caught it before the dosage hit critical. They flushed the line, started him on calcium gluconate. He's stable, for now. They hit the stairwell, took the steps 2 at a time. Lena's side was bleeding through Kane's jacket now, a dark wet spot spreading across her ribs. She ignored it. "Who had access?" she asked. "Medical staff, security, command personnel, at least 40 people in the last 6 hours. Cameras? Being reviewed. Nothing yet." They burst through the 3rd-floor door. The ICU corridor was chaos, MPs everywhere, weapons drawn, nurses being questioned. Someone had cordoned off Hale's room with yellow tape. 2 guards stood at the door, rifles ready. Lena walked straight toward them. One of the guards stepped forward, hand raised. "Ma'am, you can't—" "Move." The guard hesitated. Kane appeared beside Lena, flashing his ID. "She's cleared. Let her through." The guards exchanged glances, then stepped aside. Lena pushed through the door. Hale was in the bed, unconscious, his face gray under the fluorescent lights. Monitors beeped steadily. An oxygen mask covered his nose and mouth. 3 doctors surrounded him, working fast, checking vitals, adjusting medications, speaking in clipped medical jargon. Lena stopped at the foot of the bed, gripping the rail. "How bad?" The lead doctor, a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back tight, looked up. "Who are you?" "The person who's going to sit in this room until he wakes up." "How bad?" The doctor studied her for a moment, then seemed to make a decision. "He's lucky. Another 2 minutes and the potassium would have triggered cardiac arrest. As it is, his heart rhythm's irregular but stable. We're monitoring for arrhythmia." "Will he survive?" "Barring another attempt?" "Yes." "Then make sure there isn't another attempt." The doctor's expression hardened. "We're doing everything we can." "Do more." Kane stepped between them before it escalated. "Doctor, we need to move Colonel Hale to a secure location, somewhere off the record. Can he be transported?" The doctor considered. "Not for at least 6 hours. Maybe 12. Moving him now could destabilize his condition." "Then we secure this room," Lena said. She turned to Kane. "No one gets in without my approval. Not staff, not command. No one." Kane nodded. "I'll post guards." "No." Lena's voice was flat. "Whoever did this had access. That means guards can be compromised. I stay. You vet everyone who enters. Personally." "Cross, you're injured." "I don't care." Kane opened his mouth to argue, saw the look on her face, and closed it again. "Fine, but you're getting a weapon." He left. Lena pulled a chair to the side of Hale's bed and sat. Her side throbbed. Blood soaked through the jacket, dripping onto the floor. One of the doctors noticed. "You're bleeding." "I'm aware." "You need medical attention." "Later." "You could pass out." "Then wake me up." The doctor looked like she wanted to argue, but something in Lena's posture, the set of her shoulders, the stillness in her hands, convinced her otherwise. She returned to monitoring Hale's vitals. Lena sat in silence, watching the monitors, watching the door, watching everything. Minutes passed. Kane returned with a Glock 19 and 3 magazines. He handed them to Lena without comment. She checked the chamber, loaded a magazine, chambered a round. The familiar weight settled her. "Anything?" she asked. Security footage shows a male nurse entering Hale's room at 0347 hours. He was in for 90 seconds, left with the IV bag under his coat. ID? Fake. Badge was cloned from a staff member who's been on leave for 2 weeks. Facial recognition's running, but I'm not optimistic. Description? White male, 6 feet, medium build, dark hair, generic as hell. Kane leaned against the wall, arms crossed. This was planned, professional. Same people from the storm? Has to be. They tried to grab Hale. That failed. Now they're trying to finish the job. Lena's jaw tightened. Why? What's he know that's worth this much trouble? That's the question. Kane pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. I've been digging into the op that put us in the Raven Rock Highlands. Officially, it was a recon mission. Mapping enemy supply routes. Standard stuff. Unofficially, Kane's expression darkened. Hale was carrying intelligence, encrypted files, something big enough that Command kept it compartmentalized. Only Hale knew the full picture. And now someone wants him dead before he can talk. Exactly. Lena stood, ignoring the spike of pain in her side. Then we wake him up, get him to talk, figure out who's behind this. The doctor said, I heard what they said, but if we wait, whoever's doing this gets another chance. We need answers now. Kane looked at Hale's unconscious form, then back at Lena. You really think he'll talk? In his condition? He's the toughest son of a bitch I've ever met. If anyone can push through sedation and a near-fatal poisoning, it's him. Kane was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. I'll talk to the doctors, see what we can do. He left again. Lena returned to her chair, gun resting on her lap. She watched the door, watched the shadows in the hallway. Every footstep made her hand tighten on the grip. An hour passed, then another. At some point, a nurse entered, young, nervous, escorted by 2 MPs. She changed Hale's IV bag under Lena's watchful eye, working quickly, hands trembling. When she finished, she left without a word. Lena didn't relax. Around 600, Kane returned with a doctor, a different one this time, older, with tired eyes and a lined face. This is Dr. Garrison, Kane said, head of critical care. He's willing to try reducing Hale's sedation, but he needs your word that you understand the risks. Garrison stepped forward. Reducing sedation in his state could trigger seizures, respiratory distress, or cardiac arrest. If something goes wrong, we may not be able to save him. Lena looked at Hale. His chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. The monitors beeped their mechanical song. Do it, she said. Garrison sighed. I need verbal confirmation. Do you understand that this procedure could kill him? I understand. Do it anyway. Garrison shook his head but moved to the IV stand. He adjusted the flow rate, reducing the sedative drip. It'll take 20 to 30 minutes for the drugs to clear his system, maybe longer, and there's no guarantee he'll be coherent. He will be, Lena said. Garrison said nothing. He finished the adjustment and stepped back, watching the monitors closely. They waited. 20 minutes, 25, 30. Hale's eyelids fluttered. Lena leaned forward. Colonel, can you hear me? No response. Colonel Hale, it's Cross. I need you to wake up. Hale's hand twitched. That's it. Come on. Open your eyes. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, Hale's eyes opened. Unfocused at first, staring at nothing. Then they found Lena. Cross? His voice was a whisper, rough and broken. I'm here, sir. Where am I? Hospital. You're safe, but I need you to focus. Can you do that? Hale blinked, trying to clear his vision. What happened? Someone tried to kill you. Poisoned your IV. We stopped them, but they're still out there. I need to know what you were carrying in the Raven Rock op. What intelligence were you transporting? Hale's face twisted, confused. I don't think, sir, the files. Command said they were compartmentalized. What were they? Hale closed his eyes, struggling. Files. Yes. Encrypted. Transfer protocols. Transfer protocols for what? Weapons. Next gen. Bioweapons. Research facility. Location. Personnel. Everything. Lena's blood went cold. Who's developing them? Shadow contractor, black budget, no oversight. They found out I had the data, tried to stop me. That's why they came after you in the storm. Hale nodded weakly. Thought they'd lost me, but they're still hunting. Kane stepped closer. Who's running the contractor? We need names. Hale's breathing was labored now, his face pale. Don't know. Above my clearance, but there's a contact inside the base, feeding them information. Who? Don't know. Lena leaned in. Colonel, focus. This is important. Who can we trust? Hale's eyes drifted, unfocused. No one. Trust? No one. His monitors started beeping faster, erratic. Garrison pushed forward, checking the screens. His heart rate spiking, blood pressure's dropping. We need to resedate. Not yet, Lena said. He's crashing. 1 more minute. Lena gripped Hale's hand. Sir, where are the files now? Do you still have them? Hale's lips moved, barely audible. Encrypted thumb drive. Hidden. My locker. Base gym. Behind the vent. Locker number? 317. The monitor screamed, alarms blared. Garrison shoved Lena aside. That's it, everyone out, now. Lena stepped back, watching as the medical team swarmed Hale, working to stabilize him. Kane grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door. Come on, we got what we needed. They left the room. The door swung shut behind them, muffling the chaos inside. Lena sagged against the wall, breathing hard. Her side was on fire. Her vision swam. Kane steadied her. You good? Yeah, I'm good. You're lying. Probably. Kane almost smiled, then his expression hardened. We need to get that thumb drive. If what Hale said is true, it is. Then we're looking at a Black Ops conspiracy, bioweapons research, assassination attempts on a sitting colonel. This goes all the way to the top. Lena pushed off the wall, steadying herself. Then we go to the gym, get the drive, and we figure out who's dirty. And if the contact tries to stop us? Lena checked her Glock. Full magazine, 1 in the chamber. Then we stop them first. They moved fast through the hospital, avoiding the main corridors, taking service stairs and back hallways. Lena's side screamed with every step, but she kept moving. Pain was just information. She could process it later. The base gym was on the east side, a 10-minute walk. They made it in 7. The building was mostly empty this early, just a few off-duty personnel running on treadmills, lifting weights. Lena and Kane slipped past them, heading for the locker rooms. Locker 317 was in the back corner, tucked between 2 larger units. Lena knelt, examining the lock. Standard combination. She tried the default code, 0000. It didn't open. Hale wouldn't use default, Kane muttered. Try his service number. Lena punched in the digits. The lock clicked. She opened the locker. Empty except for a spare uniform, a pair of boots, and there, high up, near the top shelf, a ventilation grate. Lena stood on tiptoe, gripped the edges, and pulled. The grate came free, revealing a shallow cavity behind it. Inside was a small black thumb drive. Lena grabbed it, pocketed it, and replaced the grate. Got it, Kane exhaled. Good. Now we... The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, dim red glow, barely enough to see. And in that half-darkness, Lena heard it. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Moving fast. Coordinated. We've got company, Kane whispered. Lena drew her Glock. How many? At least 4. Maybe more. Exit? Blocked. They're coming from both ends. Lena's mind raced. The locker room was a kill box, narrow aisles, limited cover, no escape routes. If they stayed here, they'd be trapped. Showers, she said. They moved fast, low and quiet, cutting through the rows of lockers toward the shower area at the back. The footsteps grew louder, closer. Voices now, low, professional, speaking in that same foreign language Lena had heard in the storm. Her stomach tightened. Same team, same operators. They'd found her. Lena and Kane reached the showers and pressed flat against the tile wall. The room was small, maybe 10 feet square, with 3 shower heads and a single drain. No windows, no exits. Kane met her eyes. We're pinned. I know. We can't fight our way out, not against that many. I know. So what's the play? Lena looked at the drain, then at the ceiling, then back at Kane. We improvise. She moved to the drain, crouched, and pulled. The grate came up easily, old, rusted, held in place by nothing but gravity. Beneath it, a narrow pipe, maybe 2 feet in diameter. Kane stared. You're kidding. You got a better idea? That pipe probably leads to the septic system. Then we'll smell bad. Get in. Kane hesitated, then shook his head and climbed into the pipe. Lena followed, pulling the grate back into place above them. The pipe was tight, claustrophobic, cold, slick with moisture. They crawled forward in total darkness, hands and knees slipping on algae-covered metal. The sound of their breathing echoed. Behind them, voices entered the shower room. Footsteps. A pause. Then gunfire. Bullets tore through the tile, punching holes in the walls, shattering the shower heads. Water sprayed. Ricochets pinged off metal. Lena and Kane kept crawling. The pipe angled down sharply. Lena slid, barely catching herself before she fell. Kane grunted behind her, doing the same. They descended maybe 20 feet, the pipe leveling out into a horizontal run. Dim light filtered through grates above, access points from other parts of the building. Lena stopped at one, peered up. Hallway. Empty. She pushed the grate up and climbed out. Kane followed. They were in a maintenance corridor beneath the gym. Concrete walls, exposed pipes, flickering lights. And at the far end, a door. They ran. The door opened into a storage room, cleaning supplies, old equipment, shelves stacked with forgotten junk. Lena scanned for exits. One door, one window, both locked. Kane tried the window. Reinforced glass. We'd need a breaching charge to get through. Then we used the door. It's a choke point. They'll be waiting. Then we go loud. Lena checked her ammunition. 1 full magazine left, 15 rounds. Not enough, but it would have to be. She moved to the door, pressed her ear against it. Silence. She counted to 3, then kicked it open. The hallway beyond was empty. Too empty. Lena stepped out, weapon raised, scanning left and right. Nothing. Just fluorescent lights buzzing overhead and the faint hum of ventilation. Kane followed, covering their 6. They moved fast, clearing corners, checking doorways. The base was waking up now, more personnel in the corridors, more activity. Lena and Kane blended in, walking with purpose, weapons concealed under Kane's jacket. They reached the main administrative building without incident. Lena's mind was racing. They had the thumb drive. They had Hale's intel. But they still didn't know who the inside contact was. And whoever it was, they were still hunting. Kane's radio crackled. He keyed it. Kane here? Riley's voice came through, tense. Chief, where are you? Admin building. What's the situation? Hale's stable. Security's tripled around his room. But we've got another problem. What problem? Someone just accessed Hale's personnel file, pulled his full service record, mission history, everything. Whoever did it used an admin terminal in Building 7. Kane's face went pale. When? 4 minutes ago. Lena grabbed the radio. Riley, can you trace the login? Already did. It's registered to... Riley paused. To Master Chief Kane. Kane froze. Lena looked at him. Someone cloned your credentials. Or I'm the inside contact, Kane said quietly. Lena didn't blink. Are you? No. Then we prove it. She turned back to the radio. Riley, lock down all terminals. No one accesses anything until we sort this out. And get security to Building 7. I want whoever used that terminal detained. Copy? On it. The radio went dead. Kane stared at Lena. You believe me. I watched you take a bullet for Hale in Kandahar. I was there when you carried Salazar out of a burning building in Mosul. You're not dirty. How do you know? Because if you were, I'd already be dead. Kane exhaled slowly. Then who? Someone with access to your credentials, someone who knows the system, someone we trust. They moved fast through the corridors, heading for Building 7. Lena's side was bleeding again, a steady drip leaving a trail behind her. She didn't care. They reached Building 7 and pushed through the main entrance. Security was already there, 4 MPs, weapons drawn, surrounding a desk where a figure sat with hands raised. Lena's heart stopped. It was Salazar. Kane stepped forward, face dark. "Jorge, what the hell are you doing?" Salazar looked up, eyes wide. "Chief, I swear it wasn't me." "Then why are you at that terminal?" "I was checking something. I got a tip that someone was accessing classified files. I came to investigate." "With whose authorization?" "Yours." Kane shook his head. "I never gave authorization." Salazar's face went pale. "Someone called me 30 minutes ago. Sounded like you. Gave me your access code. Told me to check the terminal logs." "It wasn't me." "Then who?" The building shook. A massive explosion ripped through the eastern wall, blowing out windows, collapsing part of the ceiling. Fire and smoke poured into the corridor. Lana hit the ground, ears ringing. She looked up, saw the MPs scattered, one not moving. Kane was on his feet, pulling Salazar away from the burning desk. And through the smoke, figures, armed, professional, moving fast. Lena raised her Glock and fired. One figure dropped, the other scattered, returning fire. Kane dragged Salazar into cover. "We need to move." "Where?" Lena shouted over the gunfire. "Anywhere but here." They ran. The corridor was chaos. Fire spreading, alarms blaring, personnel evacuating. Lena, Kane, and Salazar pushed through the crowd, heading for the rear exit. Bullets chased them. One clipped Salazar's shoulder. He stumbled, and Kane caught him. "I'm fine," Salazar gasped. "Keep moving." They burst through the exit into open air. The base was in full alert now. Sirens wailing, vehicles racing, armed personnel mobilizing. Lena scanned the area. They were exposed, vulnerable. "We need transport," she said. Kane pointed. "Motor pool, 200 meters." They ran. Gunfire erupted behind them. Lena turned, fired 3 shots blind, kept running. They reached the motor pool and Kane hotwired a Humvee in under 30 seconds. They piled in. Kane driving, Salazar in back, Lena riding shotgun. The Humvee roared to life. Kane floored it. They tore across the base, weaving between buildings, taking corners too fast, the engine screaming. Behind them, 2 black SUVs gave chase. Lena leaned out the window, fired. One SUV swerved, hit a barrier, flipped. The second kept coming. "Where are we going?" Salazar yelled. "Off base," Kane shouted back. "We need somewhere safe, somewhere they can't follow." "There is nowhere safe," Salazar said. "They're inside the system. They know everything." Lena turned to Kane. "The Raven Rock Highlands." Kane's eyes widened. "Are you insane?" "They won't expect it. And we know the terrain. The storm is over. It's clear now. We can reach the old shelter, regroup, figure out our next move." Kane hesitated, then nodded. "Hold on." He yanked the wheel hard, cutting across the airfield, heading for the perimeter fence. The SUV followed. Ahead, the fence loomed, chain link topped with razor wire. Kane didn't slow down. "Brace!" They hit the fence at 60 miles per hour. Metal shrieked, wire snapped. The Humvee punched through and kept going, bouncing across rough terrain. The SUV followed. Lena twisted in her seat, aimed carefully, and fired. The SUV's front tire exploded. It spun out, rolled twice, and came to rest upside down. Silence. Kane kept driving. They drove for 20 minutes, following old logging roads deep into the highlands. The terrain grew rougher. The Humvee struggled, but Kane kept it moving. Finally, they stopped. The shelter was still there, the same narrow rock formation where Lena had sat in the storm, where she'd made the decision to go after Hale alone. It felt like a lifetime ago. They climbed out. Salazar was bleeding steadily from his shoulder. Lena's side had opened completely, blood soaking through her clothes. Kane looked at them both. "We need to stop the bleeding." "Later," Lena said. She pulled out the thumb drive. "First we see what's on this." Kane pulled out a laptop from the Humvee's emergency kit, military grade, encrypted. He powered it up, inserted the drive. The screen flickered. Files appeared, dozens of them. Research documents, personnel rosters, financial records. And at the center, a single video file. Kane double-clicked it. The video loaded, grainy footage, a conference room, men in suits sitting around a table. No audio, just timestamps and metadata. Lena leaned closer. Who are they? Kane's face had gone white. That's General Marcus Voss, head of strategic operations. And the others? Defense contractors, black budget liaisons. Kane paused the video, zooming in on one face. And that's Senator William Hargrave, chair of the Armed Services Committee. Lena felt her stomach drop. This is a conspiracy at the highest level. Bioweapons development, off-the-books funding, assassination attempts to cover it up. Kane shut the laptop. If we go public with this, it'll tear apart the entire command structure. Then we go public. Cross, you don't understand. These people have reach. They'll bury us. They'll bury everyone we know. Then what do we do? Kane was silent. Salazar spoke up, his voice weak. We take it to someone we trust, someone outside the system. Who? Lena asked. Internal Affairs, the Inspector General, someone who can't be bought. Kane shook his head. Everyone can be bought. Lena pulled out her Glock, checked the chamber. 2 rounds left. Then we don't rely on the system, she said quietly. We end this ourselves. Kane stared at her. What are you talking about? Voss, Hargrave, the contractors. They're all at the center of this. We take them out, the conspiracy collapses. That's assassination. That's justice. Cross, they tried to kill Hale. They're developing weapons that could kill millions. They've already killed to protect their secret. How many more people have to die before we act? Kane's jaw tightened. You're talking about starting a war. I'm talking about ending one. Silence fell. Salazar coughed, wincing. For what it's worth, I'm with Cross. Kane looked between them. Then he closed his eyes, exhaled, and nodded. All right, but we do this smart. We gather evidence, we build a case, and then, if we have to, we act. Lena nodded. They sat in the shelter, planning, strategizing, preparing. And somewhere far away, in a secure facility buried deep beneath the Capitol, a phone rang. General Marcus Voss answered it. Status? The voice on the other end was calm, professional. The targets have the drive. They're in the Raven Rock Highlands. How many? 3. Cross, Kane, and Salazar. Voss was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice cold and final. Send everyone. I want them dead by sunrise. The line went dead. And in the shelter, Lena cross-checked her weapon one more time, unaware that the largest manhunt in military history was about to descend on her position. The first helicopter appeared at dawn. Lena heard it before she saw it. The low thump of rotors cutting through morning air, growing louder, closer. She moved to the shelter entrance and looked up through the narrow gap in the rocks, black against the pale sky. Apache gunship, circling. We've got inbound, she said quietly. Kane joined her, binoculars raised. 1 bird. No, wait. 2 more. 300 meters out. They're setting up a perimeter. Salazar was slumped against the back wall, his shoulder bandaged with strips torn from his shirt. He'd lost blood but was still conscious. Barely. How long do we have? Minutes, Kane said. Maybe less. Lena pulled the thumb drive from her pocket and held it up to the light. Such a small thing, barely larger than her thumb. And yet people were dying for it. We need to get this off the mountain, she said. Get it to someone who can use it. Who? Kane's voice was flat. Everyone we know could be compromised. Hell, half the base might be on Voss's payroll. Then we go outside the military, press, civilian oversight, someone. Cross, they control the narrative. The second we surface, we're labeled traitors, deserters. They'll spin it however they want. Lena turned to face him. So what's your plan? Stay here and die quietly? Kane didn't answer. The sound of the helicopters grew louder. They were descending. Lena checked her Glock. 2 rounds. She looked at Kane. How many magazines you got left? 3. Maybe 40 rounds total. Salazar? Salazar pulled his sidearm weakly. 1 mag, 15 rounds, and I can barely hold the damn thing. Lena did the math. 57 rounds total, against what would probably be 30 to 40 operators, backed by helicopter gunships. Not a fight. A slaughter. Kane was thinking the same thing. We need to move. Now, before they box us in. Move where? Lena asked. They've got air superiority. Thermal imaging. They'll track us across open ground in seconds. Then we don't go across open ground. We go through it. Lena frowned. What are you talking about? Kane moved to the back of the shelter and knelt, brushing away dirt and debris. Beneath was a narrow opening, barely visible, half collapsed, leading down into darkness. Old mining tunnel, Kane said. Runs under the ridge, comes out about 2 clicks east near the river valley. I found it on my 3rd tour, used it for cache storage. You never mentioned it. Didn't think I'd need to. Kane looked up at her. It's tight, unstable. Could collapse at any moment, but it's our only shot. Lena looked at the opening, then at Salazar. Can he make it? Salazar coughed, managing a weak smile. I can make it. Just don't ask me to run a marathon after. Deal. They moved fast. Kane went first, disappearing into the tunnel. Lena helped Salazar to the opening, easing him down. He grunted in pain, but kept moving. Lena followed last, pulling debris over the entrance to conceal it. The tunnel was worse than she'd imagined. Narrow, barely wide enough to crawl through, and pitch black. The walls were rough stone, slick with moisture. The air smelled like earth and rot. They crawled in single file, feeling their way forward. No lights, no talking. Just the sound of breathing and rock scraping against gear. Above them, the helicopters landed. Lena heard boots hitting ground, voices shouting orders. The operation was beginning. She kept crawling. The tunnel descended sharply, then leveled out. Water pooled in low spots, forcing them to crawl through cold, murky liquid. Lena's side screamed with every movement. Her wound had reopened completely, bleeding freely now. She could feel herself weakening. Ahead, Kane stopped. What's wrong? Lena whispered. Collapse. The tunnel's blocked. Lena crawled forward until she reached him. In the faint light filtering through cracks above, she could see it, a wall of stone and timber blocking the passage. Can we dig through? She asked. Kane tested the debris. Maybe, but it'll take time and make noise. Then we dig quietly. They worked in silence, moving rocks one at a time, carefully, slowly. Salazar leaned against the wall behind them, conserving strength. Minutes stretched, sweat dripped, hands bled. And then, voices. Above them. Close. Lena froze. Through a crack in the tunnel ceiling, she could see boots. 3 pairs. Moving methodically, searching. One of the operators spoke. Grid 7 Alpha clear, moving to 7 Bravo. Another voice responded. Copy. Air support reports no thermal signatures in immediate area. Targets may have extracted. Negative. Humvee's still here. They're on foot. Keep searching. The boots moved away. Lena exhaled slowly. They'd bought time, not much, but enough. She returned to digging. 10 minutes later, they broke through. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber, natural cave formation, high ceiling, multiple passages branching off in different directions. Kane pulled out a small LED light, shielding it with his hand. Which way? Lena asked. Kane studied the passages. East tunnel. Should bring us out near the river. They moved quickly now, able to walk upright. Salazar leaned heavily on Kane, his breathing labored. Lena brought up the rear, weapon ready. The cave system was a maze. Passages twisted, doubled back, opened into chambers filled with ancient rock formations. Somewhere in the distance, water dripped in a steady rhythm, and then Lena heard it. Footsteps. Not above them this time, behind them. She stopped, listening. The footsteps grew louder. Multiple sets, moving fast. They're in the tunnels, she said quietly. Kane swore. How? Thermal imaging picked up our heat signatures through the rock. They tracked us. How far back? Lena listened. 200 meters, maybe less. Kane looked at the passages ahead. We can't outrun them, not with Salazar. Then we don't run. Lena checked her Glock, 2 rounds. She looked at Kane. Give me your magazines. What are you doing? Buying you time. Take Salazar. Get to the river. Get the thumb drive somewhere safe. Cross, no. That's an order, Master Chief. Kane stared at her. You don't outrank me. Today I do. Lena pressed the thumb drive into his hand. Finish this. Make it count. For a moment, Kane looked like he might argue. Then he nodded once, sharp, final, and turned to Salazar. Come on, we're moving. They disappeared into the east tunnel. Lena turned back toward the approaching footsteps. She found a defensive position, a narrow bottleneck where the passage constricted, good cover, limited approach angles. She settled in, weapon raised, and waited. The footsteps grew louder. Flashlight beams cut through the darkness. Lena counted silently. 1, 2, 3 operators, leading with rifles, professional, cautious. She let them get close. 30 feet, 20, 10. She fired. The first operator dropped. The others scattered, taking cover, returning fire. Bullets sparked off stone. Lena relocated, moving fast through the shadows. She fired again. Another operator down, but now they knew where she was. They advanced in a coordinated pattern, covering each other, closing the distance. Lena had 1 round left. She waited. The third operator moved into view, sweeping his rifle across the chamber. Lena aimed carefully, exhaled, and squeezed the trigger. Click. The round misfired. The operator saw her, raised his weapon. Lena threw herself sideways as gunfire erupted. She hit the ground hard, rolled behind cover, and came up with the operator's dropped rifle. She fired without aiming. 3-round burst, center mass. The operator fell. Lena checked the rifle. Half a magazine. Maybe 15 rounds. Better than nothing. She moved deeper into the caves, following the path Kane and Salazar had taken. Behind her, she heard more voices. More footsteps. They were sending reinforcements. She ran. The tunnel narrowed, forcing her to squeeze through gaps barely wide enough for her frame. Ahead, she heard water. The river, close now. Almost there. She emerged into daylight at the edge of a cliff. Below, the river churned, swollen from recent rain. On the far bank, she could see Kane and Salazar, moving slowly but steadily toward the tree line. They'd made it. Lena looked for a way down. The cliff was sheer, maybe 40 feet. No obvious path. No handholds. Behind her, voices echoed in the tunnel. Getting closer. She had seconds. Lena looked at the river, at the rocks, at the impossible distance. Then she jumped. The fall felt endless, wind tearing at her, gravity pulling, and then impact. Cold water slammed into her like concrete. The current grabbed her immediately, dragging her under, spinning her. She couldn't breathe, couldn't see, couldn't think. She fought to the surface, gasping, and the river carried her downstream. Rocks scraped her side, her head. She kicked hard, angling toward the bank, fighting the current with everything she had left. Her hand found a root. She grabbed it, held on, pulled herself inch by inch out of the water. She collapsed on the muddy bank, coughing, shaking. Gunfire erupted from the cliff above. Bullets hissed into the water around her. Lena forced herself up and ran. The tree line was close. She crashed through underbrush, branches tearing at her face, and found Kane and Salazar sheltering behind a fallen log. Kane grabbed her. You're alive. Disappointed? Relieved. He checked her over quickly. You look like hell. Feel worse. Lena sagged against the log. Did they follow? Not yet, but they will. Salazar coughed weakly. We need a plan, a real one, not just running. Lena pulled out her phone. Miraculously, it had survived the river. Waterproof case. She powered it on, checked for signal. 1 bar. Enough. She dialed a number from memory. It rang 3 times before someone answered. Who is this? The voice was professional, cautious. This is Petty Officer Lena Cross. Serial number 4792361. I need to speak with Inspector General Morrison. Immediately. A pause. The IG doesn't take direct calls. Tell him I have evidence of a Black Ops conspiracy involving General Marcus Voss, Senator Hargrave, and multiple defense contractors. Tell him I have video proof of illegal bioweapons development. And tell him if he doesn't take this call in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to the press. Another pause, longer, then, hold. Lena waited. Kane watched her, expression unreadable. 30 seconds passed. Then a new voice came on the line. older, gravelly. "This is Morrison. Start talking." Lena talked. She explained everything. The storm, the ambush, the assassination attempts, the thumb drive, Voss, Hargrave, the conspiracy at the highest levels. Morrison listened without interrupting. When she finished, there was a long silence. "Where are you now?" Morrison finally asked. "Raven Rock Highlands, East Sector, being hunted by what I estimate is a full tactical company." "On whose authority?" "Voss's. He wants us dead before we can expose him." Morrison was quiet again. Then, "How do I know you're telling the truth?" "Because I'm sending you the video right now." Lena pulled the thumb drive from Kane's hand, connected it to her phone, and uploaded the file. "Check your secure server. Password is Hotel Alpha Lima Echo." "Hail." Of course it was. She waited. Morrison's breathing changed. "Received. Reviewing now." 30 seconds passed, then a minute. Then Morrison swore, long, bitter, and creative. "This is authentic," he said finally. "I know. This goes to the Joint Chiefs, to the President. This is—" He stopped himself. "You need to get somewhere safe, now. I'm sending a team to extract you." "How long?" 40 minutes? Maybe less. "We might not have 40 minutes. "Then make time, petty officer, because you just started the biggest shitstorm in military history." The line went dead. Lena looked at Kane. "Help's coming." "We need to hold for 40 minutes. Kane checked his ammunition. "We've got maybe 30 rounds between us, no grenades, no air support, against an entire tactical company." "Then we be smart." Lena scanned the area. Dense forest, uneven terrain, good cover. "We use the environment, hit and run, make them think we're a larger force, keep them cautious." Salazar laughed, weak, pained. "You want to bluff our way out of this?" "You got a better idea?" "No, but I like your style." They moved deeper into the forest, setting up defensive positions in a loose triangle. Lena took the northern approach. Kane took west. Salazar, despite his injury, covered the southern flank with his remaining ammunition. And they waited. The enemy came 20 minutes later. Lena heard them before she saw them, boots crunching through underbrush, commands whispered in calm, professional tones. She counted at least 8 operators in the first wave. She waited until they were in the kill zone, then fired 3 shots. 2 operators dropped. The others scattered. Kane opened fire from the west, Salazar from the south. The enemy thought they were surrounded. They fell back, regrouping, calling for reinforcements. Lena relocated, moving silently through the trees. She found a new position, waited for the second wave, and fired again. The pattern repeated. Shoot, move, shoot, move. But ammunition was running out. Lena fired her last 3 rounds and dropped the rifle. She drew a knife from her boot, standard KA bar, 7-inch blade, and prepared for close quarters. She didn't have to wait long. An operator appeared through the trees, weapon raised. Lena moved fast. Inside his guard, blade to his throat. He went down without a sound. She took his rifle, full magazine, 30 rounds. A gift. She kept moving. The forest became a maze of shadows and violence. Lena fought with everything, rifle, knife, hands, teeth. Every operator that came at her found someone smaller, faster, and far more desperate. She lost track of time, of kills, of everything except the next threat. And then, silence. Lena crouched behind a tree, breathing hard, listening. No gunfire, no voices, nothing. Had they retreated? She keyed her radio. Kane, report. Static. Salazar, report. Static. Lena's blood went cold. She moved fast through the forest, heading toward Salazar's last position. She found him slumped against a tree, blood soaking through his shirt. His eyes were closed. Jorge, Lena said, kneeling beside him. Hey, stay with me. Salazar's eyes fluttered open. Did we make it? Almost. Help's coming. Just hold on. Can't. Lost. Too much blood. Don't you dare quit on me. Salazar smiled weakly. You sound like Hale. Good. Then listen, you're going to survive this. You're going to see your daughter graduate. You're going to be... Lena. Salazar's hand found hers. It's okay. You did good. His eyes closed. His breathing stopped. Lena sat there, holding his hand, feeling the weight of it settle on her chest like stone. Another loss. Another name on the list. She didn't have time to grieve. Footsteps behind her. She spun, raising her weapon. Kane stepped out of the trees, hands raised. It's me! Lena lowered the rifle. Salazar's gone. Kane's face tightened. He moved to Salazar's body, knelt, and closed his eyes. He was a good man. He was. Kane stood. We need to move. Extracts inbound. 5 minutes out. They heard it then. The sound of rotors. Different from before. Heavier, friendlier. A Chinook helicopter descended into a clearing 300 meters east. Ramp already down. Soldiers pouring out, setting up a defensive perimeter. Inspector General Morrison himself stood at the ramp, waving them in. Lena and Kane ran. They reached the helicopter and climbed aboard. Morrison grabbed Lena's arm, steadying her. You made it! Barely. Lena collapsed into a seat. What happens now? Morrison's expression was grim. Now we burn it all down. The helicopter lifted off, banking away from the forest. Below, Lena could see the tactical company regrouping, watching their prize escape. But it was too late. The evidence was out. The conspiracy was exposed. Morrison sat across from her, tablet in hand. I've already briefed the Joint Chiefs. Warrants are being issued for Voss, Hargrave, and 17 others. The facility where they were developing the bioweapons is being raided as we speak. Will it stick? Lena asked. Or will they bury it? Not this time. Morrison looked her in the eye. You gave us everything we needed. The video, the financial records, the paper trail. This isn't going away. Good. The helicopter flew toward the base. Lena looked out the window at the highlands disappearing behind them. So much had happened there. So much blood. So much loss. But also, victory. Morrison leaned forward. For what it's worth, Petty Officer Cross, what you did out there, that took guts. Real guts. The kind of courage we don't see often enough. I just did my job. No. Morrison shook his head. You did a hell of a lot more than that. The base came into view. News crews were already gathering at the gates. Word had leaked. The story was breaking. Morrison stood. When we land, you're going straight to medical. After that, debriefing. After that, he paused. After that, you're probably going to be the most famous soldier in the country. Lena didn't respond. The helicopter touched down. Medical teams swarmed the aircraft. They pulled Lena out on a stretcher despite her protests, checking vitals, stabilizing wounds. Someone started an IV. Someone else applied pressure bandages. And through it all, Lena saw Kane standing at the edge of the tarmac, watching her. He raised one hand, small gesture, but it said everything. Thank you. You're welcome. Stay alive. Always. Lena was wheeled into the hospital, the same one where Hale was recovering, the same corridors she'd run through what felt like a lifetime ago. They took her to surgery, fixed the gunshot wound properly this time, repaired torn tissue, stopped the bleeding. When she woke, Morrison was sitting beside her bed. How long was I out? She asked. 6 hours. How do you feel? Like I got shot, then drowned, then shot again. Morrison almost smiled. That's accurate. Where's Kane? Debriefing. He'll be cleared in a few hours. You both will. And Voss? Morrison's expression darkened. In custody, along with Hargrave and 12 others. The bioweapons facility has been secured. The program's been shut down. It's over. Lena closed her eyes. Good. There's something else. Morrison pulled out a folder. The president wants to see you. Personal commendation. Medal of Honor, probably. Lena's eyes snapped open. What? You exposed a conspiracy at the highest levels of government. You saved countless lives. You're a hero, Cross, whether you like it or not. I don't want to be a hero. I just wanted to bring Hale home. You did. He's awake, by the way, asking for you. Lena sat up despite the protests from her body. Take me to him. Morrison helped her into a wheelchair and pushed her down the corridor to Hale's room. The guards at the door stepped aside. Hale was propped up in bed, looking tired but alive. His eyes brightened when he saw her. Cross? Colonel, I heard what you did. All of it. Just following your example, sir. Hale laughed, rough but genuine. My example would have gotten you killed. Almost did. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Hale spoke quietly. Thank you for not giving up, for seeing it through. Someone had to. Not just anyone could have. Hale's expression grew serious. You proved something out there, Cross. Not just to me, not just to the team, but to yourself. What's that? That you belong. That you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Lena felt something loosen in her chest, something she'd been carrying for years without realizing it. The need to prove herself, to be seen, to be enough. It was gone now. She'd earned her place. Not through size or strength or noise, but through resolve. Through refusal to quit when quitting made sense. Thank you, sir, she said quietly. Hale nodded. Get some rest, petty officer. You've earned it. Morrison wheeled her back to her room. The hospital was quiet now. Most of the chaos had settled, but outside the storm was just beginning. News of the conspiracy broke worldwide within hours. Headlines screamed, politicians scrambled, defense contractors lawyered up. General Marcus Voss was arraigned on 17 counts, including conspiracy, murder, and treason. Senator Hargrave resigned in disgrace. The bioweapons program was publicly dismantled. And through it all, one name kept appearing in every story, every broadcast, every headline. Lena Cross, the quiet sniper who'd taken down an empire. Days passed. Lena healed. The stitches came out. The pain faded. Kane visited often. They didn't talk much. Didn't need to. They'd been through the fire together. That was bond enough. On the 7th day, Morrison returned. The president scheduled you for next week, he said. Medal of Honor ceremony, full military honors. The works. Lena nodded. Understood. There's something else. Morrison pulled out an envelope. This came for you, from Voss. Lena's blood went cold. What does he want? Read it. She opened the envelope. Inside was a single handwritten note. You were right. I was wrong. That's all there is to it. Lena stared at the words for a long time. Then she folded the note and handed it back to Morrison. Burn it. You sure? I don't need his confession. I know what I did. That's enough. Morrison took the note and left. Lena sat alone in her room, looking out the window at the base below. Soldiers moving with purpose. Helicopters landing and taking off. Life continuing. She'd changed it. All of it. Single-handedly torn down a conspiracy and rebuilt trust in a system that had nearly broken. But the cost? Salazar was gone. Others had died. And the scars, physical and otherwise, would never fully heal. Was it worth it? Lena thought about Hale, about the team, about the millions of lives saved by shutting down the bioweapons program. Yes, it was worth it. A knock at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Come in. The door opened, and standing there, leaning on crutches but upright and alive, was Colonel Adrian Hale. Behind him stood Kane, Riley, and a dozen other members of the team. We heard you were getting a medal, Hale said. Apparently. Thought we'd come congratulate you early. You didn't have to. Yeah, Kane interrupted. We did. They filed into the room, filling it with presence and warmth. Someone had brought beer, unauthorized, definitely against hospital policy, but no one seemed to care. Riley raised his bottle. To Lena Cross, the toughest damn operator any of us have ever served with. The team echoed the toast. Lena felt her throat tighten. She raised her water cup. To the team. I couldn't have done any of it without you. They drank, and for the first time in weeks, Lena allowed herself to smile. The conversation flowed. Stories were shared. Jokes were made. The weight of everything that had happened began, slowly, to lift. And then Hale pulled her aside. There's one more thing, he said quietly. What's that? When you're cleared for duty, I want you leading your own unit. Hand-picked team. High-value targets. The kind of work that matters. Lena blinked. Sir, I'm not... Yes, you are. You've proven it. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Hale smiled. You've got a gift, Cross, for seeing what others miss, for doing what others won't. We need that. The country needs that. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. The celebration continued late into the night. Eventually, the team filtered out one by one, leaving just Lena and Kane. Kane sat in the chair beside her bed, nursing the last of his beer. You really did it, he said. We did it. No. Kane shook his head. This was you, start to finish. You made the calls. You took the risks. You carried it through. Which Lena looked at him. You sound like you're trying to convince me of something. Maybe I am. Kane leaned forward. You spent your whole career being underestimated, being told you were too small, too quiet, too whatever, and you let it drive you. But now, he gestured around the room. Now everyone knows. Now there's no question. So maybe it's time you stop trying to prove yourself, because you already have. Lena sat with that. It felt true. It felt right. Okay, she said quietly. Kane stood, stretched. Get some rest. Big week ahead. He left. And Lena lay back in her bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the full weight of everything settle. She'd done it. Against impossible odds, against an entire conspiracy. She'd won. But as she drifted toward sleep, one final thought nagged at her. Voss's note, the handwriting. Something about it felt wrong, too neat, too controlled. For a man facing life in prison, he'd seemed calm, almost like he'd been expecting this. Lena's eyes snapped open. She grabbed her phone, dialed Morrison. It's 3 a.m, Cross. Where's Voss being held? Fort Meade, maximum security. Why? I need you to check something. His cell, his personal effects, everything. What am I looking for? Anything that doesn't belong. Morrison was quiet, then, hold on. 10 minutes passed. Then Morrison's voice came back, tight and urgent. There's a phone, hidden in the wall of his cell, recently used. Lena's stomach dropped. Trace the number. Another pause. It's a burn phone, registered to a shell company, the same shell company that funded the bioweapons program. He's still operational, Lena said quietly. Even in custody, he's still pulling strings. How is that possible? Because we didn't get everyone. There's still someone on the outside, someone we missed. And as she said it, Lena's phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered. A voice, distorted, mechanical, spoke. Hello, Petty Officer Cross. Impressive work. But the game isn't over. Not yet. The line went dead. Lena stared at her phone, the mechanical voice still echoing in her mind. She pulled the battery out, crushed the SIM card under her heel, and threw the pieces across the room. Morrison's voice crackled through the hospital room phone. Cross, what just happened? They know I'm on to them. Whoever's left, they're making contact. Lena was already moving, pulling on clothes over her bandages. I need access to Voss's call logs, every number, every contact, everything. That'll take hours to decrypt. Then start now. She hung up and called Kane. He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? We missed someone. Someone big. They just called me. Kane was silent for 2 seconds. I'm on my way. Lena finished dressing and stepped into the hallway. The night shift nurse looked up, startled. Ma'am, you can't. Watch me. She moved fast through the hospital corridors, ignoring the pain in her side. Her mind was racing. The voice had been distorted, but the cadence was familiar. The phrasing, the confidence, someone she knew, someone close. Kane met her at the main entrance, already armed, already ready. Talk to me. The conspiracy goes deeper than Voss. He was just the military face. Someone else is running the operation. Someone with enough pull to stay hidden even after everything collapsed. Who? I don't know yet, but they're spooked. Making contact was a mistake. Means they're worried we're getting close. They moved to Kane's truck and drove toward the intelligence building. The base was quiet at this hour, just security patrols and skeleton crews. Kane parked in a restricted lot, and they entered through a side entrance. Morrison was waiting in the analysis room, surrounded by monitors displaying encrypted data streams. His tie was loose, his eyes red from lack of sleep. "I've got the call logs," he said without preamble. Voss made 17 calls from that hidden phone over the past 72 hours. Most were to known associates, but 3 calls went to a number I can't trace. Sophisticated encryption. Military grade? "Can you break it?" Lena asked. "Given time, yes, but we don't have time." Kane studied the screens. "What about location data? Can we triangulate where the calls originated?" Morrison pulled up a map. All 3 calls pinged off the same cell tower, right here on base. Lena felt ice form in her stomach. Someone on this base is running the operation. "That narrows it down to about 8,000 people," Kane muttered. "No." Lena pointed at the screen. "Look at the timing. All 3 calls were made between 0200 and 0400 hours, middle of the night, when most of the base is asleep." Morrison scrolled through security logs. At those hours, only essential personnel would be active: command staff, security, medical. "And intelligence," Lena said quietly. Morrison's face went pale. "You think it's someone in this building?" "I think whoever it is needs access to classified systems. Needs to know what we're doing before we do it. Needs to stay ahead of the investigation." Lena looked around the room at the servers, the terminals, the classified networks. "This is the perfect position." Kane pulled his sidearm. "Then we lock down the building. Interview everyone. Find the leak." "No." Lena shook her head. "That'll take hours and they'll know we're coming. We need to smoke them out." "How?" Lena thought for a moment. Then she turned to Morrison. "Can you fake a data breach? Make it look like we've cracked the encryption and identified the final conspirator?" Morrison considered. "Yes, I can send a priority alert through the classified network. Make it look like we're about to make an arrest." "Do it. But don't name anyone. Just say the suspect is in custody within the hour." "What's that accomplish?" "It forces them to react. If they think we're closing in, they'll either run or try to destroy evidence. Either way, they expose themselves." Morrison nodded slowly. "It's risky. If they run, we might lose them." "Then we don't let them run." Morrison moved to a terminal and began typing. His fingers flew across the keyboard, crafting the fake alert with careful precision. After 2 minutes, he hit send. "It's done. The alert just went out to all personnel with top-secret clearance." They waited. 1 minute passed. 2. 3. Then Morrison's terminal beeped. "Someone just accessed the secure server. They're pulling files." "Can you trace it?" Lena asked. "Working on it." Morrison's hands moved rapidly. "Got it. Terminal 7-3. 3rd floor. Office of Deputy Director Caldwell." Lena's breath caught. "Margaret Caldwell?" Kane swore softly. "She's been with intelligence for 20 years. Impeccable record. Multiple commendations." "Perfect cover," Lena said. She was already moving toward the stairs. "How many exits on the 3rd floor?" 3. Main stairwell, service stairs, and emergency ladder." "But Kane, take the service stairs. Morrison, cover the ladder. I'll take the main approach." They split up. Lena climbed the stairs 2 at a time, weapon drawn, adrenaline overriding pain. She reached the 3rd floor and moved silently down the corridor. Office lights were off except for one at the end of the hall. Caldwell's office. Through the frosted glass door, Lena could see a figure moving rapidly, pulling files from a safe, stuffing them into a bag. Lena approached quietly, positioned herself beside the door, and waited. Inside, Caldwell finished packing and moved toward the exit. The door opened. Lena stepped into view, weapon raised. "Going somewhere, ma'am?" Caldwell froze. She was in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, wearing civilian clothes instead of her uniform. Her expression shifted from surprise to calculation in an instant. "Petty Officer Cross, you should be in the hospital." "Funny. I was about to say you should be in a cell." Caldwell's hand moved toward her jacket. "Don't," Lena said quietly. "I will drop you before you clear leather." Caldwell's hand stopped. She smiled, thin, cold. "You're making a mistake. I'm not the enemy here." "No?" Then why are you pulling classified files at 4 in the morning? I could ask you the same thing. Difference is, I'm not trying to destroy evidence. Caldwell's smile faded. You have no idea what you've stumbled into, Cross. This operation, the bioweapons program, it was sanctioned, necessary, a response to threats you can't even imagine. Threats that justified murder? Assassination? Treason? Treason? Caldwell laughed. I've served this country for 30 years. Everything I did was to protect it. By developing weapons that could kill millions? By ensuring we had the capability to respond when our enemies deployed theirs first. Caldwell's voice hardened. You're young, idealistic. You think the world operates on principles, on honor, but it doesn't. It operates on power, and those who lack the stomach to wield it get crushed. Is that what you told yourself when you ordered the hit on Hale? Hale was a liability. He would have exposed the program prematurely before we had the leverage to defend it politically. So you tried to kill him. I tried to protect a vital national security initiative. Lena's finger tightened on the trigger. By that logic, I should shoot you right now. Protect the initiative of truth and justice. Caldwell's eyes narrowed. You won't. You're too principled, too bound by rules. You're right. I am bound by rules. Lena lowered her weapon slightly. Which is why you're under arrest instead of dead. She keyed her radio. Kane, Morrison, 3rd floor, Caldwell's office. Suspect secured. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Kane emerged first, weapon ready. Then Morrison, flanked by 2 security officers. Caldwell looked at them all, her expression unreadable. This won't end the way you think. I have allies, resources. This conspiracy, as you call it, involves people far more powerful than you can touch. Maybe, Lena said. But we'll start with you and work our way up. Morrison stepped forward with handcuffs. Deputy Director Margaret Caldwell, you're under arrest for conspiracy, murder, treason, and about 40 other charges I'm still working out. Caldwell didn't resist as Morrison cuffed her, but she looked at Lena one last time. You think you've won, but all you've done is painted a target on your back. The people I work for don't forgive, they don't forget, and they will come for you. Let them, Lena said. I'll be ready. Security escorted Caldwell away. Morrison exhaled slowly. That's it then. Voss, Hargrave, Caldwell. The entire conspiracy dismantled. Is it? Kane asked. She said she had allies, people more powerful. Then we keep digging, Lena said, until we find every last one of them. Morrison nodded. I'll start subpoenaing her communications, bank records, everything. If there are more conspirators, we'll find them. Dawn was breaking as they left the building. The base was waking up, personnel moving to morning formation, vehicles starting, the familiar rhythm of military life resuming. Lena stood in the parking lot, breathing in the cool morning air. Every part of her body hurt. The gunshot wound, the river, the fights, the exhaustion. But beneath the pain was something else. Pride. Not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet satisfaction of knowing she'd done what needed to be done, no matter the cost. Kane appeared beside her. You should get back to medical. Let them finish patching you up. I will. In a minute. They stood in silence, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. You know what Caldwell said was true, Kane said quietly. There will be consequences. People who aren't happy about what we exposed, they'll come after you. I know. And you're okay with that? Lena thought about Salazar, about Hale nearly dying, about all the people who'd paid the price for standing up. Yeah, she said. I'm okay with that. Kane smiled. Good, because the team's going to need you. The team? Hale's officially putting you in charge of a new unit, specialized operations, high-value targets, the kind of missions that require someone who doesn't quit. He already told me. I haven't decided yet. Why not? Lena looked at him. Because I need to know it's the right move, not just for the team, for me. And is it? She thought about the past weeks, the storm, the conspiracy, the fight. She thought about the moment she'd stood in that shelter and decided to go after Hale alone. The moment she'd chosen action over obedience. Yeah, she said finally, it is. Kane clapped her on the shoulder. Then welcome to the next chapter, Cross. The days that followed were a blur. Caldwell's arrest made headlines. The full scope of this conspiracy became public. More arrests followed: contractors, politicians, military officers. The web was vast, but Morrison and his team worked tirelessly to untangle it. Lena spent most of that time recovering. Proper surgery this time, proper rest, physical therapy to rebuild strength. Hale visited frequently. They talked strategy, mission planning, team composition. He was excited in a way she'd never seen before, like he'd finally found someone who shared his vision. On the 10th day, Morrison came to her hospital room with news. "It's done," he said simply. "We've made 43 arrests, seized over $2 billion in illegal assets, shut down 7 black budget programs. The conspiracy is dead." Lena felt something release in her chest. And Caldwell? Singing like a bird, giving up everyone in exchange for a reduced sentence. She'll still spend the rest of her life in prison, but she's helping us build cases against the others. Good. Morrison pulled up a chair. There's something else. The Medal of Honor ceremony. It's been moved up. Tomorrow at 1400 hours. The president wants to make a statement. Show the country that integrity still matters. Lena nodded. I'll be ready. Morrison stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Cross, you've changed things. Not just by exposing the conspiracy, but by showing people that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous, that it matters, that it's worth it. I just did what anyone would do. No. Morrison shook his head. Most people would have looked the other way, would have followed orders, would have protected themselves. You didn't. And that's what makes you extraordinary. He left. Lena sat alone with that thought. Extraordinary. The word felt too big, too grand. She wasn't extraordinary. She was just Lena Cross, a sniper who'd made hard choices and lived with the consequences. But maybe that was enough. The ceremony was held in the main parade ground. Hundreds of personnel assembled in formation. Press cameras lined the perimeter. Flags snapped in the wind. Lena stood at attention in her dress uniform, medals gleaming on her chest. Beside her stood Kane, Riley, and the rest of the team. Hale sat in the front row, still on crutches, but present. The president, a woman in her 60s with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes, took the podium. Today we honor a soldier who exemplifies the highest ideals of military service, the president began. Petty Officer First Class Lena Cross put her life on the line not once, but repeatedly, to protect her commander and expose a conspiracy that threatened our national security. She acted with courage, integrity, and unwavering commitment to justice. The president motioned Lena forward. Lena marched to the podium, her movements crisp despite the lingering pain. The president held up the Medal of Honor, a pale blue ribbon supporting a bronze star. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of life above and beyond the call of duty, I present the Medal of Honor to Petty Officer First Class Lena Cross. She placed the medal around Lena's neck. The parade ground erupted in applause. Lena stood at attention, feeling the weight of the medal against her chest. It was heavier than she'd expected, not the physical weight, but the meaning behind it. The president leaned in, speaking quietly so only Lena could hear. Thank you for reminding us what honor looks like. Lena nodded once. Thank you, ma'am. The ceremony continued with speeches and tributes. Lena stood through all of it, maintaining composure, even as emotions threatened to overwhelm her. When it finally ended, the formation dispersed. People approached, fellow soldiers, officers, civilians, all wanting to shake her hand, offer congratulations. Lena accepted it with grace, but inside she felt detached, like she was watching someone else's life unfold. Eventually, Hale made his way over, leaning heavily on his crutches. Well, Cross, how does it feel to be a national hero? Surreal. Get used to it. You're going to be famous for a while. He gestured toward the crowd. But don't let it change you. Fame is fleeting. Character lasts. I'll remember that, sir. Hale smiled. I know you will. Now come on. The team's throwing you a proper celebration. And by proper, I mean highly inappropriate and probably violating at least 6 regulations. Lena laughed, the first real laugh in weeks. Lead the way. The celebration was held off base at a local bar the team had rented out. Music played, beer flowed, stories were told and retold, each version more exaggerated than the last. Riley regaled everyone with his version of events, making Lena sound like some kind of superhuman warrior. She tried to correct him, but he waved her off. "Let me have this, Cross. I need to tell my grandkids I served with a legend." While Kane appeared with 2 beers, handing one to Lena. "To surviving the impossible." They clinked bottles and drank. "You know," Kane said, "I've been thinking about what you said, about not leaving people behind." "Yeah? I think that's what defines you. Not the shooting, not the tactics, but the refusal to abandon people when it matters most." Lena considered that. "Maybe. Not maybe. Definitely." Kane looked around the room at the team. "You've inspired these people, Cross. Shown them what's possible when you don't give up." "I'm not a role model, Chief." "That's exactly what a role model would say." The night wore on. Eventually, people started filtering out. The team said their goodbyes, promising to see Lena at the new unit's first briefing. Lena stepped outside into the cool night air. The parking lot was mostly empty. Stars filled the sky above. She pulled out her phone, a new one, secured, encrypted, and dialed a number. A woman answered. "Hello? Mom, it's me. It's Lena." Her mother's voice flooded with relief. "I've been watching the news. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. Better than fine. They're saying you're a hero, that you stopped some kind of conspiracy." "Something like that." Her mother was quiet for a moment. "Your father would be proud." "I'm proud." Lena felt her throat tighten. "Thanks, Mom. When can I see you?" "Soon. I've got some things to wrap up here first, but soon." "I'll hold you to that." They talked for a few more minutes, small talk, family updates, normal things that felt surreal after everything she'd been through. When Lena hung up, she found Hale standing nearby, watching her. "Family?" he asked. "Yeah." "Good. Don't lose sight of that. This job, it'll consume you if you let it, but family keeps you grounded." "I'll remember." Hale shifted on his crutches. "I meant what I said about the new unit. It's yours if you want it. Full autonomy, hand-picked team, missions that actually matter." "I know. So what do you say?" Lena looked up at the stars, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The storm, the conspiracy, the fights, the losses. She thought about Salazar, who died believing she could finish what they started. She thought about all the people who'd underestimated her, dismissed her, doubted her. And she thought about the woman she'd become through all of it. "I say yes," Lena said. "Let's build something that lasts." Hale smiled. "That's what I wanted to hear." 6 months later, the new unit was operational. Officially designated as Special Operations Task Force Raven, the team consisted of 12 operators, each one hand-selected by Lena for their skills, integrity, and ability to function under impossible conditions. Kane served as second-in-command. Riley handled logistics. The rest were specialists, snipers, demolitions experts, intelligence analysts, all the best of the best. Their first mission was a hostage rescue in Eastern Europe. High risk, low visibility, exactly the kind of operation Lena excelled at. They executed it flawlessly. 0 casualties. All hostages recovered. Word spread quickly through the special operations community. Task Force Raven was the real deal. More missions followed, each one more complex than the last, each one executed with precision and professionalism that became Lena's trademark. She led from the front, never asking her team to do anything she wouldn't do herself. She earned their respect not through rank, but through action. And slowly, the woman who'd once been too small, too quiet, too overlooked, became one of the most respected operators in the entire military. But Lena never forgot where she came from. On the anniversary of Salazar's death, she returned to the Raven Rock Highlands, alone. She climbed to the ridge where they'd made their stand, where he'd given his life, buying her time. She placed a small memorial stone there, a simple marker with his name and service dates. "We did it, Jorge," she said quietly. "The conspiracy's gone. The team's stronger than ever, and I'm exactly where I need to be." The wind carried her words away. She stood there for a long time, remembering. Then she turned and walked back down the mountain, back to the team, back to the work, back to the life she'd fought so hard to build. Years would pass, more missions, more challenges, more obstacles. But Lena Cross had learned the most important lesson of all. That strength wasn't measured in size or volume or recognition. It was measured in resolve, in the willingness to stand up when everyone else sat down, to speak up when everyone else stayed silent, to act when everyone else hesitated. She'd been underestimated her entire career, and she'd used that underestimation as fuel to become something no one expected, something undeniable, a force of nature wrapped in 5'4" of quiet determination. And anyone who made the mistake of judging her by her appearance quickly learned the truth, that Lena Cross was exactly where she belonged, at the front, leading, unstoppable. The memorial stone stood on the ridge, weathering seasons and storms, a testament to sacrifice and courage. But down in the valley, in the operations center where Task Force Raven planned their next mission, life continued. Lena stood at the head of the briefing table, her team assembled around her, studying maps and intelligence reports. "All right, people," she said, her voice calm and authoritative. "Here's what we're dealing with." The team leaned in, ready, trusting, because they knew. When Lena Cross was in charge, the mission would succeed, not because she was the biggest, not because she was the loudest, but because she was willing to do whatever it took. And that made all the difference. The briefing continued late into the night, and somewhere far away, in the darkness, another threat was forming. Another challenge was rising, but Lena Cross had learned long ago that challenges were just opportunities in disguise, opportunities to prove, again and again, that she belonged, that she mattered, that she would never stop fighting for what was right. No matter the odds, no matter the cost. Because that's what heroes do, not the loud ones. Not the obvious ones, but the quiet ones, the ones who refuse to be overlooked, the ones who change everything. One mission at a time, one choice at a time, one impossible moment at a time. And as Lena looked around the table at her team, her family, she knew with absolute certainty that this was exactly where she was meant to be. Not because someone gave her permission, but because she'd earned it, every single step of the way. Never measure someone by how they look. Measure them by what they do when everything is on the line.